welcome back to Straight Talk. So, continuing with the community meeting and membership.
So what were some of the, because you were telling me, like during the day when we were talking here at the office, she was telling me about how some of the chiefs were saying, I guess this whole issue of non-natives were being brought up again in terms of like them benefiting from living here in the community. I'm so interested in hearing about this.
That was kind of like a big thing from community members that first brought it up, that it's always that issue that these non-natives are taking our like rights and benefits. And it was Chief Gus Skydeer that kind of went on like this long spiel about how it's a lack of respect, and well, one community member said something about trespassing, and she said that Gus said that well, technically they're not trespassing, and because community members are bringing them here, and that's when she went on her spiel about abusing like these rights and how Ganawag is so a nice, desirable place to live if you're non-native, and like blah 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 about all that stuff, and it just kind of like, I don't know. I was ready to say that not every non-native who wants to live here is like looking to abuse those rights.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And personally, like I understand that Chief Carl Horn and Gus Nahawe, they're very passionate about this subject, and they came in and they came in with guns blazing, if you will, and really tackled this issue and put a lot of things back out there that generated a lot of discussion in this community. But at the same time, it was like explosive. It brought up a lot of feelings, negative feelings in the community about who should live here, who has the right to live here, and then this whole issue about non-natives living here. There were so many people who have proposed that if a non-native is living here, have them pay tax or have them pay a residency fee of some sort. If you're so worried about money and you're so worried about, taking up land, space, air, what have you.
And that's what was brought up at the community meeting by more than one community member.
I would be hesitant to just ridicule people who sincerely discuss those issues, raise those issues. I think, if you have to consider it at all, you have to take into account there's like a 140-year history of this community having the right to determine who the membership of this community is away from them. That's what the Indian Act did.
I 100% agree with you. I just think what we're doing isn't working. I just think our approach hasn't worked, and history has shown that. Can you agree with that?
Well, I would hesitate. I would hesitate only because
why does that not surprise me?
No. It's because in the context of a conversation here over a half an hour, 10 minutes. I don't think that I could until here. I listen to everybody. I'm listening to this, and I listen to the other side as well too. On some levels, I understand where the people who argue that we have to protect what little or what degree of the bloodline of who we are as the Black people are. Those are complex decisions. We're in a mess.
We are in a mess, and that's why I keep saying that.
But I don't think the answer is as simplistic either, though, as just saying, well, okay, let's throw the whole thing out and we'll just charge tax. But because you know what?
I think that will solve one portion of the problem.
Here's what I know, is that as of 2011, the Canadian government will be changing its laws. So it'll be if you think it's difficult now for Ganawagi to enforce a membership law that it has with regard to that, it's going to be next to impossible under Canadian law, because those things are going to change.
I understand there's not one big solution to fix like all of this, but like Regan said, there's like taxation could fix one of those problems that we have.
I don't understand what you're saying with regard to that.
And there's not, besides taxation, there's other options that I just don't think we're considering.
You know what, I think that some of the biggest problems is because they're trying to incorporate everything at the same time. I think you need to piece the membership law and work on pieces at a time, because the way it's going, nothing's going to happen. Is because there's too many components, there's too many issues surrounding all the components. Instead of sticking to, okay, let's just talk about the residency issue. Let's talk about the land issue. Let's talk, and and piece it. Decide, make a decision on one, because whatever you're going to do will affect all the rest, but then piecemeal it until you come up with something at the end of the day that's acceptable, I guess, by the majority. But the way it's going now with the law, nobody's going to accept the whole thing as it is, and you're not going to be able to incorporate the whole law as it is, so you need to break it down. That's all I can say right now on the issue. I mean, it's a membership, again, is a total show all of its own.
Yeah, but the current membership law, okay, went through this huge, long process, right?
For years.
Yes,
Okay,
it cost this
and
community
guess
a
what?
lot
Then
of money.
then the Mohawk Council put out this version of the law, okay, and said this is the people's law. This is what came from the consultation. That's the position they took. They put it out, and we're running up the flagpole, and we'll see what happens. But you can consult as many people as you want, and then at the end of the day, when it's in place, somebody's going to come around and
say,
balk it.
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
Yeah.
and under the current realities, they're going to be able to balk it. There's nothing that anybody could
It's
do.
just so frustrating.
On a more positive note from the community meeting, Martin LeBourne mentioned, announced his housing initiative.
What a way to cut that off.
That is a nice one, Jessica. I really like that. I was like, it's just so frustrating.
There we
To housing.
So housing.
So they sent an application to INAC, and it was accepted, and they got a grant to build a sixplex housing unit geared for handicapped and elderly in the community.
Good for Martin. He's been trying to do stuff like
He
this for
has
a
been
while.
trying, yeah.
You know, and I think that you need it in this community, and we don't have stuff like that. Even the smaller housing that he's talking about, maybe it's a little too small, but you know, it's those types of
That's
projects.
that's what he does.
Yeah, those types
so
of projects
little,
are,
these things here that all that other stuff. But you can focus on these little things, and maybe that's as effective as anybody
I
can
think
be.
that Martin
in the
has,
position.
I agree with you. He does these projects that are very community based. He's still one of those chiefs that are always looking out for people or things in the community. He's very, he still has an open door policy. He, come to my house, I'll go to your house. He's very passionate about housing. And I think this is a really good project, and he has been working on housing initiatives in the last year or so.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I wanted to mention is I actually saw him and Chief Johnny Montour, or Johnny Montour, if you will, at Cafe Delight one night. And Martin and I got to talking, and apparently, well, I didn't read the article, but he was telling me that, there was something in their local newspaper about his opposition to the big security door that is currently at the Mohawk Council. Now, I went to the Mohawk Council recently to do something, and I did notice the door.
The steel door?
The steel door and you know what I mean?
If anyone read my column last week, they would know how much I think it's a waste of money, among other things, but...
Well, he said it was a big waste of money, and it cost in like $20-something thousand for this door.
Yeah,
or something.
$26,000.
Yeah, no,
$26,000.
right now the position that's being put out, and I did read an article about it.
Okay.
I read that was in the Eastern Door, and the building manager, and it's all about the safety of the staff and so on.
Okay.
But the other side, safety assignment, I'm not going to debate that issue like here. Obviously, I don't have the other side, but. The thing is that I have talked to people who were on council once upon a time, okay, and people in the community would never have stood for the idea of having their council offices locked from the community, and of course the big concern is, well, is this meant? Does it? And I don't probably say no, it isn't. But the appearance, again, is there, is that, well, who's locking who out, and who's locking who in, or what have you, and how does it limit direct community accountability, access to?
Well, maybe the Mohawk Council needs to answer some of those questions. Like, they may not be able to do it on this program because they're not sitting here, and perhaps this is something that we can ask them.
You could also ask what proportion of the community wants to have the building, the Mohawk Council building locked up.
Yeah, so call our news line. If you're a community member that you're not sure if you agree or what Ross just said, 450-632-6397 or mohawktv@hotmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. But right now we got to go to a break. So don't go away because there's going to be a lot more to discuss here on Straight Talk when we return.